I was midway through my lunch in the KFC parking lot when Karen showed up at my car window, red-faced and trembling with anger, shouting accusations of murder and animal cruelty. She banged on my window, insisting I stop eating chicken in what she called her neighborhood. Things escalated quickly, far beyond what anyone could have predicted. Here's the context. I work remotely as a software developer, and now and then I like to get out of the house for a change of scenery during lunch. That Tuesday, I had a serious craving for fried chicken. So I drove to the KFC just outside our neighborhood and sat in my car with a 3-piece combo and extra biscuits. I was mid-bite when a silver SUV screeched into the spot beside me. I paid no attention until I caught a glimpse of the driver. Karen Wilkins, the head of our HOA. Even before she stepped out, I could see she was livid. Karen and I already had a rocky relationship. Since I moved into Sycamore Estate 6 months ago, she'd nitpicked everything I did. My lawn was too long by half an inch, I left my trash bin out a bit too late, and my mailbox wasn't the exact HOA-approved beige. But this was on a whole different level. "What do you think you're doing?" she demanded, her voice muffled through my closed window. I reluctantly rolled it down just an inch, still holding my chicken drumstick. "Having lunch," I said, trying to stay calm even as my pulse quickened. Something about her intensity felt different this time, more serious. "Do you even realize what you're supporting?" she hissed, her face now just inches from mine through the window. "You're eating the flesh of a murdered, sentient creature that wanted to live." I stared at her, still confused. "Karen, I'm just having lunch in a KFC parking lot. This isn't about the HOA. This is about our community's values," she shouted, her voice rising so high that nearby diners started to look over. "I've been working for months to turn Sycamore Estates into a cruelty-free zone. And here you are, one of our own residents, supporting this slaughterhouse." Now, to give some context, Karen had been on a mission lately. She started by handing out vegetarian cookbooks at the last community picnic. Then came the flyers about factory farming, slipped under everyone's doors. Last month, she even proposed a ban on outdoor grilling, arguing that the smell of cooking meat was offensive. Thankfully, that proposal was shot down, much to her visible displeasure during the HOA meeting. But confronting me in a public place outside of the neighborhood, that was a new low for Karen. "Look," I said, trying to remain calm. "I respect your dietary choices, but you can't dictate what other people eat, especially not here." I motioned to the KFC parking lot around us. "We're not even on HOA property." Her face turned even more red with rage. "Don't you get it? This affects all of us. You're bringing that death energy back into our neighborhood. I saw you leave Sycamore Estates 30 minutes ago. I knew you were up to no good, but this..." She pointed at my meal like it was a dangerous weapon. By now, people at the nearby outdoor tables were openly staring, and a couple of them had their phones out, recording the scene. My face flushed with embarrassment, but I was determined not to engage with her wild accusations. "I'm going to finish my lunch now," I said, my voice firm as I began to roll up the window. "We can talk about this later, but not here." That's when things took an unexpected turn. Karen slapped her hand against the window, blocking it from closing. "No, you will not ignore this," she yelled. "Do you have any idea how many chickens die every day for this vile place?" she shouted, practically screaming now. "Millions! Millions!" Spittle flew from her mouth and splattered against my window. I put my food down and tried again to reason with her. "Karen, you need to step away from my car. You're causing a scene and you're blocking my way." "Good," she shrieked. "Maybe if you can't leave, you'll finally listen." She moved to stand directly against my driver's side door, completely blocking it. "I want you to get out of your car and apologize. Apologize for supporting animal cruelty. Apologize for undermining our community values." I honestly couldn't believe this was happening, over a bucket of chicken in a KFC parking lot while I was just trying to have a peaceful lunch. I considered my options. I could call the cops, but that felt like overkill. I could try to reason with her, but she was clearly beyond reason. I could just wait her out, but I had a video meeting in 45 minutes. As I weighed my choices, a young KFC employee in a red uniform approached cautiously. He looked like he was in his early 20s, and his name tag said Marcus. "Excuse me." "Ma'am," he said politely to Karen. "Is everything okay?" "We've had some complaints about the shouting." Karen whipped around to face him, her eyes wide with fury. "Complaints? Complaints? You work for a company that kills millions of innocent animals, and you're worried about noise complaints?" Marcus stepped back, clearly caught off guard by her hostility. I just need to make sure our customers feel comfortable," he stammered. Karen laughed, a high-pitched, almost manic sound. What about the comfort of the chickens, crammed into tiny cages their whole lives? What about their comfort? I tried to use this distraction to my advantage, attempting to open my door in the hopes of slipping out and ending the madness. Big mistake. The moment my door made contact with her, Karen spun around and did something I still can't believe. She reached through the crack in my window, snatched a piece of chicken from my meal, and threw it onto the parking lot pavement. No, more death food, she screamed, her voice shaking with what seemed like real emotion. With a dramatic stomp, she crushed the piece of chicken beneath her pristine white tennis shoe, grinding it into the pavement. That's when Marcus' manager came out of the restaurant, a middle-aged woman with a no-nonsense attitude. What's going on out here? She demanded. Karen immediately launched into her rant again, this time pulling out her phone to start recording. I want everyone to see what's happening here, she declared to no one in particular. This place is complicit in mass murder. And this man, she pointed at me, a resident of my community, is supporting it. The manager looked at me sympathetically before turning her attention to Karen. Ma'am, you need to leave. You're harassing our customers and causing a disturbance. I won't leave until he admits what he's doing, Karen shot back, now holding her phone inches from my face. Say it. Say you're contributing to animal genocide. The manager sighed, her voice firm as if she had dealt with difficult customers before. I'm calling the police. Go ahead, Karen, challenged, now filming the manager too. Call them. They need to know what's happening here. As the manager went back inside to make the call, I noticed something unsettling. Karen's demeanor had shifted. There was a glint of triumph in her eyes. She wasn't just angry anymore. She seemed to be playing up the situation for her camera, as if she were putting on a performance for attention. Marcus, the young employee, tried again to calm the situation. Ma'am, please, we don't want any trouble. If you could just... Karen cut him off, physically shoving him aside. Don't touch me, she shrieked, even though he hadn't touched her. I'm being assaulted. Everyone, see this? Marcus stumbled back, clearly taken aback by Karen's shove. I didn't react the same way, at least not at first, but that push crossed the line from annoying to potentially illegal. Within minutes, sirens could be heard in the distance. Karen, however, didn't seem worried. In fact, she appeared almost energized by the situation, still filming and now narrating to her phone. The police are coming to protect the meat industry, she said dramatically. This is what we're up against, folks. A system built to protect killers and silence those who speak for the voiceless. 2 police officers arrived shortly after, approaching cautiously. One was a tall woman with her hair in a tight bun, and the other was a middle-aged man with a calm, measured demeanor. Both were wearing body cameras. What seems to be the problem? Here, the female officer asked, looking between Karen, who was still blocking my car, and me stuck inside it. Before I could answer, Karen started her spiel again, still filming. Officer, I'm just trying to make this man understand the consequences of his actions. He's consuming animal products without any regard for... The male officer gently but firmly interrupted her. Ma'am, could you please lower your phone and step away from the vehicle? The female officer asked, her tone calm but firm. I have the right to film in public, Karen snapped, raising her voice once more. This is a peaceful protest, she continued, holding her ground. Yes, you have the right to film. The female officer agreed. But you don't have the right to block this gentleman from leaving or to harass the customers here. Harass? I'm educating, Karen shot back, clearly getting more agitated. Who's going to speak for the animals if not me? The officers exchanged a glance, one that clearly suggested they'd dealt with similar situations before. The male officer spoke up again. Ma'am, we're asking you politely to step away from the vehicle. If you don't comply, we'll have to take further action. Without warning, Karen thrust her phone even closer to the male officer's face. Are you threatening me? She demanded. Are you part of the meat industry too? Is that it? Karen spat, her voice dripping with accusation. The female officer sighed, clearly losing patience. Ma'am, last warning. Step away from the vehicle and lower your voice or we'll have to place you under arrest for disorderly conduct. I figured this was it. Surely Karen would back down now. She wouldn't risk an actual arrest over a bucket of chicken. But I was wrong. I will not be silenced, Karen screamed, her voice breaking with emotion. Then, in a move that shocked everyone, she shoved the female officer's shoulder. Get your hands off me, she yelled, even though the officer hadn't touched her. What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. The officers exchanged another look, this one darker, more resolute. The female officer stepped behind Karen while the male officer spoke calmly, his voice steely. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for assaulting an officer." The sharp sound of handcuffs clicking shut filled the air. Karen's face shifted from righteous anger to pure disbelief. "What? No, you can't do this. I'm the president of the Sycamore Estates HOA. Do you know who I am? This is police brutality." As the officers guided her toward the patrol car, Karen continued to shout, her voice echoing across the parking lot. "This isn't over. The HOA will hear about this. We'll wipe meat off this map, you'll see. This man," she jerked her head toward me, "will be kicked out of our community. We don't tolerate animal abusers." I finally stepped out of my car, still a bit stunned by how quickly things had spiraled out of control. The KFC manager walked over looking genuinely concerned. "Are you okay, sir? Can I get you a fresh meal to replace what she ruined?" I nodded slowly. "That would be nice, thank you." As the police car drove off with Karen still ranting from the back seat, Marcus came over with a broom to clean up the chicken she'd ruined. "Man, that was intense," he said, shaking his head. "All over some chicken." "Not just any chicken," I replied, a smile starting to form despite how ridiculous everything had been. Apparently, it was a political statement. 3 days later, I got an official notice from the HOA board. They'd called an emergency meeting to address recent events involving the board leadership, and all residents were required to attend. Word had spread fast. Most people had seen the viral videos of Karen's meltdown, and some even recognized me, offering sympathetic nods when we crossed paths. The meeting was held in our community center, a small building usually reserved for yoga and book clubs. That evening it was packed. Karen wasn't there though. Instead, the vice president, a retired accountant named Howard, took the stage. By now, most of you have heard about or seen the unfortunate incident involving our board president, Karen Wilkins, he began, his tone somber. "The board has met privately to discuss this and has made a decision we believe is in the best interest of our community." He cleared his throat and went on. "Effective immediately, Karen Wilkins has been suspended from her position as HOA president, pending a formal vote next month for her permanent removal." A murmur swept through the crowd. Howard raised his hand for silence and continued. "Additionally, Ms. Wilkins is facing charges of assault on a peace officer, disorderly conduct, and trespassing. She was released on bail yesterday but has been served with a restraining order, preventing her from entering KFC property. The legal consequences are still being worked out, but she could face up to 6 months in jail and fines over $3,000. A collective gasp echoed around the room. Howard adjusted his glasses, then delivered the final blow. "We've also been informed that Ms. Wilkins has been placed on administrative leave from her position at the school district, pending an investigation. Her actions have raised concerns about her ability to maintain the composure needed for her role as an elementary school vice principal." As the meeting continued with talks of interim leadership, my mind kept drifting to Karen. Just as Howard mentioned her possible jail time and fines, the door to the community center creaked open. Karen stood in the doorway, her face a picture of shock and indignation as she overheard her fate being discussed so openly. Our eyes locked for a brief moment, and for the first time I saw something I'd never expected from Karen Wilkins: defeat. Without saying a word, she backed out of the doorway and disappeared into the night.